Hello artist, hope you're ready to add some color to those dragon eyes. This week you need your drawing from last week and your coloring supply as we begin to add color and a little more form and emphasis to our dragon eyes. You can use colored pencils or crayons. Oil pastels work great for this, chalk pastels if you'd like to use chalk. Grab your coloring supply, your paper, and we'll get started. This week we're going to be adding color to our drawing from last week. So if you missed the drawing part, go back to the archives and find lesson 1 for the dragon eye. That'll tell you the steps to draw. This week we're going to be adding color. We're going to be using it to just increase that form a little more, that more look of third dimension and realism. The first thing you need to do is make sure you've outlined everything in black. So we did that as a part of our other lesson, but just in case maybe you missed it in some spots, go back and make sure that everything's been outlined in black. You can do this with your black colored pencil, you can do it with your black crayon, or with a black marker. Now you're going to choose what you want to emphasize in your work of art this week. You could color in the whole paper, and that would be fabulous. It is going to be some pretty detailed coloring. So if you would like to choose a part of your picture to emphasize, that would be fine. So in this one, I kind of emphasized a curved line. Notice I didn't color everything in, but I took a section from top to bottom and I colored in some section. This one, I emphasized a straight down part, and I think it looks kind of cool to see this black and white up against the color. You see how much the color really adds to this idea that there's a third dimension. I did mess up. I'm going to go ahead. You probably have noticed there's a line right here. That was originally the part I was going to emphasize, and then I kept coloring outside the line. I realized that it would help if you're doing something like this to fold it over so that you remember where you're going to stop on each part. So I ended up just increasing my line a little there. You could do something diagonal. You could do something horizontal. You could do a lightning bolt down the center. It's really your choice how you want to emphasize. So the second step after you've outlined everything in black would be to go over with just lightly with a pencil and draw in what part you want to emphasize, and really keep that in mind as you're drawing, because I made that mistake myself. And the last thing we're going to do is choose some colors. This is another where cool and warm will be your friend. Cool and warm colors will give you a little drama to your picture. So on this one, I used cool colors on my dragon, and then I gave him this really warm colored eye. And on this one, I just did the opposite. I used warm colors on my dragon, and then to really make that eye stand out and seem different than the rest of the dragon, I used cool colors. As you're picking out your colors, I would recommend you pull all of them out. So if you're going to use blue, go through and find all the blues. If you're going to use purple, do the same for purple. This is just going to help you kind of, as you're going through, you can know which colors to grab, and maybe you'll forget that you have another value of that color, because value plays a huge role this week. And I'm pretty sure you remember back to some of these lessons. We looked at this one last week too about drawing, making things larger as they go, but also remember that we used value. We did things darker that were further away because there's a shadow here, and as it comes up towards us, the light hits it and it gets lighter. This was with crayon and colored pencil, so you can see as you're drawing in your dragon how you might use those same techniques for this. So we're going to start with our first layer. We're going to be doing 3 layers of color on these. That's part of the reason that I gave you the choice of emphasizing, so you can really focus on how to do your color in. For this first step, I've chosen the area I'm going to emphasize. I'm going to do a smaller area because I just want to be able to demonstrate quickly for you. I've chosen the colors that I'm going to start with. I'm going to use my warm colors on the outside. And first step is to start laying in the colors. So I'm just deciding where I want these colors to go, and I'm starting to add them into those sections. I'm kind of going against some of my own rules. I usually would not let you go in these sweeping motions when clearly the lines go this way, but for laying in the colors, that's okay. So I'm deciding I want my yellow here. And I'm going to choose my darker color for the back. I want my red back here. All right, so layer 1's done. The colors have been added in. I've made decisions about where colors are going to be. I usually worked in pairs, so I used 2 different colors in each section just to add a little interest, or I used 2 different color values. I went from darker to lighter. This is okay. it looks okay, but we really want to make it pop and look different. So we're going to add our second layer. Our second layer is going to be that we start to blend our colors together, and we're going to think more about the direction that we're coloring. So in this first one, I was fine coloring in long stripes this way because I was just trying to decide my color. This time I'm going to start to color in the direction that I want the viewer's eye to go. We've talked about this in past lessons. If you want the look to be that it curves this way, then your lines are going to need to go that way too. So I'm going to start going in this direction because that's the way that I want the viewer's eye to go. And then I'll come back with a third color. I'm going to start to blend. So I'm overlapping my yellow and my red. So I chose orange because yellow and red make orange. I'm going to start blending this together so that it looks like one united front and not these two separate bands of color. And as I go to the corners, it's going to get darker because it's going to get closer together and further away from the viewer. Okay, so I would continue on with this in all these sections. Back here, I would grab there's my color, and I would start to blend these colors a little. They're pretty much in their own places. And on the eye, this is kind of the cool part here. I would start to blend these colors. So I used light blue out here. I'm going to start on the inside, and I'm going to add just a little bit of light blue from the inside. The viewer may never know that you did this or realize it, but it's part of what's going to add kind of this reflective look. We've blended our colors. We've gone back over. We don't have a lot of white showing unless you're using construction paper and you wanted to purposely leave some of these sections so that the color of the construction paper shows through. Otherwise, we've colored it all in. Step 3 is where the magic happens. We are going to add the detail. This is so exciting to me, one of my favorite parts. So I still have my colors out that I've been using. I have them divided. I want to start going in and adding a little bit of detail to it. So I'm going to be using some of my darker colors. And I'm going to be going into my shadows and adding a little darker. If you can notice now, you can see that it's just going to start to really make this look like it's coming up off the page. And all this is done using shadows and highlights. So this is what it would look like on these sections going in. I think it makes the most dramatic difference to add this in. I might come back with my third value, my orange that's in between, and add a little pop of color in here too. I'm pressing down more, I'm adding a darker value. I just really want to get that, I guess it's adding a little more drama to it. All right, so there's what that might look like in there. Back here, I would again take my darker color and I would just try to add along the edges just a little more of that darkest value, a little more shade to them. When you're adding shadow, sometimes you don't have to add black. You can go with your darkest color. So here I'm bringing in a purple and I'm adding this darkest color. I'm even going over my black sections and it's just darkening them a little more. And it's unifying them. Again, the viewer may never notice that you added purple in here, but their eye is picking up on it and the eye is noticing. And I'll do the same. I'll add some purple even back here. I'm using this again as I might any other color that I'm shading. This last little punch of shadow. And there we have it. We've done our 3 layers. We laid in our colors. We started to blend our colors and change the direction of our lines the way we wanted the viewer's eye to go. And now we've added in the detail, that shadow, that darkest of the colors to really emphasize some sections. And it looks kind of cool. I think it's neat to see where the color pops out, but then the black and white meets too. I cannot wait to see what you guys do with your drawings. I hope that I get to see some pictures. If you have time, please email me a picture so that I can see what you guys have created. And I'll see you back here again next week.